Hello, my name is Julia Parsley. Welcome to my FOA. My group name is Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme because why not? And today I'm going to be talking to you about how different news outlets frame the story of the notorious criminal Brock Turner. So depending on where you read about him, you get a different sense of who he is and what he did. So before I begin, some background on Turner, basic background, just in case you are not familiar with him or his crimes. Turner was a Stanford student. He was a swimmer, and he, at a party, assaulted a unconscious woman, had a very high blood alcohol concentration behind a dumpster, which is vulgar. And, for his heinous crime, he was brought to court and he was convicted of doing said crime, but he received an extremely light jail sentence that ended up being only 3 months. And this sparked a lot of outrage in the media and in the general public because he definitely deserved more time than only 3 months. So he is quite infamous for the fact that he got off with such a lenient sentence, and there are many different explanations out there as to why he could have gotten off with practically no time in jail, and some of these articles do describe that. So today I am going to be analyzing 2 articles, both talking about Brock's release from jail only 3 months after he was put into jail. One of them is from the Huffington Post media outlet, which is primarily thought to be a liberal news outlet, and the other is from Fox News, which is known to be a more conservative news outlet, and I'm going to see how maybe these alliances with different political ideologies could be influencing the way that they frame the story of this man. So let's first start with the first sentence in both articles. So in the Huffington Post article, the first sentence is, former Stanford University student Brock Turner was arrested on January 18, 2015 for sexually assaulting an unconscious woman behind a dumpster. And in Fox News, the first sentence is, former Stanford University student Brock Turner, whose 6-month sentence for raping a young woman drew national outrage, was just released from jail after serving half the sentence. So while both are generally conveying the same idea, there is a key difference between the two. In Huffington Post, notice that his crime, sexually assaulting an unconscious woman behind a dumpster, is stated explicitly in detail. And in Fox's article, they describe his crime as simply raping a young woman. I mean, both descriptions describe a terrible crime, but Fox's description is more vague. And Huffington Post's description is definitely more specific, and the specificity in this case adds to the disgust associated with the crime, because what he did is really quite vulgar and disgusting, and makes the reader perhaps more angry about what he did, while Fox, kind of glazing over it, kind of in a vague way, might shield the reader from knowing, exactly what Brock really did, and keep them from being as angry as they would be if they were reading the Huffington Post article. So right off the bat, in the first sentence, there's already bias. The word choice there, describing how they describe Brock's crime, affects the way that the reader feels already about him and his crime in a sentence. So, moving on. Fox just says that Turner was released from jail after 3 months following controversial rapes. After 3 months following a controversial rape sentence. He just walked out of Santa Clara County Detention Center. So, they're talking to you about, he was released from jail, he just walked out. In the Huffington Post, however, they don't just say he was just released from jail. They say he was released from jail after serving only 3 months, and then they go on to say what happened, and they go into detail about the fact that he only stayed there for 3 months, and this is probably due to white privilege and rape culture, and they're using words like extremely lenient to describe his original sentence, and then extremely light, or they put that light sentence. So the choice of those adjectives to describe his sentence, and the fact that they go into detail about white privilege and rape culture and trying to explain why possibly he got such a short sentence, definitely adds an element that will make the reader more angry about Brock when reading Huffington Post article and Fox's article, just because the use of those adjectives are paints it in a light of this is ridiculous. Fox doesn't use those adjectives, and going to detail about white privilege, which is a very terrible topic. Most people are against white privilege. Bringing that up here and using it to explain Brock getting off, out of his sentence will make the reader even more angry, because that's already that topic is already a topic that makes people angry. Whereas Fox just glazing over it and kind of saying, yeah, he was released, might make the reader less angry about what happened than if they read the Huffington Post article. Again, just because it's so vague. All right. And then both the news outlets bring up the fact that the woman was drunk. So let me find it here. Yes. Okay. So here in the Huffington Post article, they talk about the fact that Turner was convicted of assaulting a young woman whose blood alcohol level was 3 times the legal limit and who was reportedly unconscious for 3 hours. Notice that language, because when we look here, Turner was convicted in January 2015 of raping a young woman who had passed out drunk after a party. Okay. This sentence. Both sentences convey the same general idea. The woman was not conscious when he assaulted her. But the way they convey the idea, the words that they use, gives a very different spin on who's to blame. So in the Huffington Post, the fact that they say, her blood alcohol level was 3 times the legal limit and she was unconscious for 3 hours already gives you a sense that she was extremely impaired from the ethanol. And what he did, he just she was a complete victim, completely vulnerable, and he just assaulted her, and it was terrible. Here they failed to mention how high her blood alcohol concentration was. And another key difference is that here, in the Huffington Post article, they describe her as unconscious. But in the Fox article, they say that she passed out. Now this is key because unconscious and passed out are very different words. I mean, they both describe, you end up in the same general state, but unconscious is a state of being, and passed out is an action that leads to you being unconscious. So when you describe somebody as unconscious, it does not come across as their fault. They are simply of that state of being. But passed out is it's something they did. She passed out. She made herself unconscious. And that adds an element of almost blame to her. It puts the focus on her a little more. She passed out. Whereas when you say she's unconscious, it does not. It does not put any focus on her. She was just unconscious, and all the focus is on Turner and what he did. So that is key. And so, reading this, the Huffington Post article, and seeing unconscious, and, this 3 times legal limit thing will definitely make a reader more angry about what happened, see the woman as more of a victim than if they read the Fox article and only saw that she passed out after being drunk. So, Huffington Post goes on to then talk about the victim's statement, and they talk about celebrity replies, and they talk about the fact that California changed their legislation so that this kind of ridiculous short sentence can never happen again. And all of these things work together to have the reader, sympathize more with the victim by saying, California changed their laws to avoid this. Obviously, Brock getting the shorter sentence is wrong to the point where they're changing their laws, and they show you the victim's letter. And at one point, here's the, they talk about the victim's letter, and here's the link to it, which is a very touching letter. That helps you sympathize with the victim. So that's going to make you, also more angry about what Brock did, because now you're learning, or not learning, but you're being told again that what he did is wrong, so wrong legislation changed, and here's the letter that the victim wrote, and it's very sad. In Fox, the article just ends. They don't talk about change legislation, they don't talk about celebrity response, they don't talk about media response, nothing, it just ends. So there's a lot of information in this article. I guess they couldn't even put a good spin on it, with whatever language they want to use, just because it was so outright. But it said the lack of thing in this article also leaves the reader without that piece of information, so they might not feel as strongly about Brock doing something wrong than they would if they read the Huffington Post and learned about all this response, from Brock's crime. And now to finish off the titles that pop up on these videos in the first couple seconds. In the Huffington Post video, the title is Stanford Rapist Will Be Released After Serving Half His Sentence. And in the video from Fox, it is Brock Turner released from jail. Again, both sentences give the same general idea. This man was released from jail. But Huffington Post's title calls him Stanford Rapist, first thing. And Fox calls him Brock Turner. And this is also a key difference, because Stanford Rapist depersonalizes him, and also calls forth his crime in a very obvious way to whoever is seeing that title. So right off the bat, you understand he did something terrible. Whereas Brock Turner humanizes Turner. it's his name. You know, it's not referring to him as by his crime. They're referring to him by his name. It humanizes him more. He's more than just a criminal here. He's a person. And right here, they announce after serving half the sentence here, they just say Brock Turner was released from jail. So I mean, here you don't even get the outrage of he didn't serve his full sentence. And you know, he's not referred to by his crime but his name. So he's a human who was released from jail. That's kind of a neutral statement. Here, he's a rapist who was released after serving not even his full sentence, which is an outrageous statement. So that is my analysis of these two articles. And the outcome of this analysis is essentially that whoever reads the Huffington Post article will be more angry about Brock's crime. It definitely frames his crime in a way that makes you understand like the terrible things about it, how outrageous his short sentence is, and makes the reader very frustrated about what happened. And Fox article, however, does not do that, mainly through glazing over details and leaving things out to keep the reader from getting too worked up. And this does align somewhat. I mean, you know, this is a controversial statement, but this does seem to align somewhat with some, you know, conservative versus liberal views. Liberal views tend to be more, you know, liberal people tend to be more upset about sexual crimes, and it's a focus, you know, women's rights. Whereas conservative people seem to be less concerned about that and more concerned about other things. So yeah, you can definitely see the bias of these news outlets and their affiliated political ideologies through their articles and how they framed this crime and, you know, him getting out of jail. So that is what I will leave you with. Thank you for listening to my FOA. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a wonderful day.